So just over this near ridge, there's a further ridge up there, and it's where the wilderness boundary is. This is a non-motorized trail, but this is an example of hundreds. All of these remote trails that go into the wilderness that are not easy access by your car for the Birkenstock crowd in their damn Subaru. They're all returning to nature. And a lot of hikers that get out are realizing it. Some of these trail crews are starting to realize, the volunteer hiking trail crews, that they're being overwhelmed by all these dead trees and trying to come in with a crosscut saw, trying to maintain access to all these public trails. They're losing trails left and right. And so the good news is, a few weeks ago at Idaho Recreation Council meeting, a couple of hiking groups, representatives and 6 of their members showed up to discuss how we can keep these trails open. And obviously, one of the ways to keep them open is not to change them from what used to be called multiple use in the old days, and today they're motorized multiple use or mechanized multiple use. And once the moto money and the volunteers go away, and the effectiveness of a motorcycle with a chainsaw, the guys that are hiking, they just can't keep up with it. And so, like, this is just a trail that's disappearing. And then what that does is it concentrates the use. It also forces hikers onto motorized multiple use trails. Now, of course, all motorized multiple use trails are open to everybody. You know, the hiker, the equestrian, the mountain bike, the dirt bike, the electric bike, the mountain bike. Just limited on width, whether or not it's a 50-inch route or a legitimate single-track trail. So motorized multiple use is open to all use classes. There's no such thing on public lands as a motorized only dirt bike trail. So anyways, I see a window of opportunity with the hikers reaching out to motorized recreation, finally acknowledging that they're losing their trails. And then they're realizing too that within the hiking community, and it's not really the hikers, it's now this is a motorized trail here, and this one will be cleared. You'll see it's accessible, and if it's not cleared, I'll be clearing it. But in my youth, everything was considered multiple use, and that was in the 60s and even before the 50s. But in my youth, the 60s and early 70s, we didn't have this dumb stuff called motorized multiple use or mechanized multiple use. It was all multiple use. And the combination of outfitters, trail crews, and volunteers on dirt bikes could keep thousands of miles of trails open every year, many more miles than we have today. And then the problem is when you start dividing people into groups, you know, mountain bike, electric bike, hiker, equestrian, you know, outfitter, dirt bike, quad, 50-inch, 60-inch, 70-inch, and then you got all these different classes of use. And then the whole goal there is to get people to start bickering and complaining about the other group. Where in my youth, land managers used to use a term when, you know, instead of having user conflict and encouraging user conflict, in my youth, what they did is they said, you know, it's a multiple use trail, get along. Oh, yeah, it's open to the hikers, open to the horse, get along. You know, just get along. But then it became this divide and conquer crap of creating user conflict. And the Birkenstock, you know, communists, they all, you know, talk about this bold new future of communism, when the reality is it's their way or the highway. looks like. Somebody came through. A lot of dead trees out here. That was a pain because of darn flies. I don't know, 30 horse flies wrapping around my head. Kind of nice not having flies buzzing in your ears. The whole time I was trying to cut, I was getting attacked. Ooh. Now we'll find out if those guys cut their way through and just went around that big one, or if that big one was a stopper. So many wildlife tracks on the trail, can't really tell if the bike is in there. Probably find out real quick whether or not there's fresh sawdust. I see a knobby track. So that's a good thing. Try not to get through. A lot of dead trees. So yeah, they had a saw, but like so many guys today, they carry a saw just to get through. They don't clear the trail. They go around everything and they just pull the saw out when they absolutely have to. Some stuff, so that's a big thank you. Sure glad I got to ride this before it burned. Beautiful in here. Now it's crispy critters.